Long season. Um, when you go to a long season and you get to the final game, I think it's pretty neat that your rival is the last game, especially in our situation. After disappointing game to say the least against last opponent, but our guys, of course, realize who we're playing. We realize what we're playing for. Land of Lincoln Trophy, which has been up there for too many years. So we got back on the practice field today. A little bit different week for us on how we handle, the Thanksgiving week. But a little banged up in some areas. We'll hopefully we'll get some more of the players back. And of course, Northwestern is, getting ready to play for the championship the following week. Their team has had an outstanding year. But hopefully for us, that, puts us in a good position where after disappointment, you can finish the season up the right way, beating your rival. Take your question.
Please let all these guys know and we'll get a mic to you.
Yes, sir.
Lovie, I know injuries are never the whole story, but what's been the impact of the depleted roster that you've had in the last few weeks, and especially this last game? How big of an impact was that?
Well, as a coach, especially when you lose, you don't want to talk about injuries. But I think for most of you that follow our team, you know the amount of injuries we have had. And when you're building your program and you have that many, especially on the defensive side, it's tough. It's tough up front, back end. In the last game, of course, when you get hit at one position as much as we did, it hurts, but it's always another opportunity. We have, of course, enough guys to still play. Great opportunity for, some of the young players that haven't gotten an opportunity to play. But it's always next guy up. We, hopefully we'll get a couple of guys back that weren't able to play last week.
Coach, I know you've got another game. Where do you say the program is right now? What's kind of the state of the program?
Well, we have another game. So I think you talk about the state of the program after the season is completed. Talking about where we are right now, we're coming off a disappointing loss.
Right.
You look at the season, we have 4 wins this year. So that's reality right now. Have an opportunity to finish with a good taste in our mouth. We talk about, the process and going through the process. This is a part of the process a little bit. And as we look at overall, where our program is, we had senior day the other day, so you saw who we have leaving our program. A few of the guys that are coming that have chosen to join our program, guys that will get back. So the state of the program is disappointment right now, but we see brighter days ahead.
How has this year been for you personally, and what do you think personally about the future for you?
Well, how it's been for me is how it's been for everybody that loves Illinois football. Disappointing. When you lose a game, it's disappointing. We had hoped for this season to be able to do more. We wanted, last week we talked about playoffs and having an opportunity to win the last 2 to get in a bowl game. We're not going to get that, accomplished this year. So that's how it's been for me, like it's been for all of our football team. There's disappointment. There's disappointment with one more game left to go in the season, with an opportunity to finish with a good taste in our mouth.
Lovie, what do these seniors mean to you and your program?
I think as you look at seniors everywhere, you know what all seniors have gone through. And I talked about the different ways our players have gotten to their senior years here. A.J. Bush, graduate transfer. Dale-Sean Phillips, a junior college player. Nick Algretti's, the Mike Dudicks. All have a different story. And we all know exactly what each one of them has gone through to help our program. And still standing strong. Excited, once you get to the last week. Last week talked about the last home game. Now it's last time they'll wear, our uniform. And their impact will be, for years to come, the impact that they have, you'll see in the next group of players coming teams, players that continue to grow where they've set a great example.
How'd you see the players respond after the loss in the locker room post-game and so far this week?
Well, locker room, you can imagine how the locker room is. The last time we were in the stadium, you can imagine how that locker room was when we won big. You can imagine how the locker room was when you lose like that. But if you're in sports, it's a quick turnaround, and you can't live in the past, good or bad. And that's what we were able to do today. The best way to move past it is to get back on the field, move on to the next opponent. And of course, when you're playing, your rival, it helps it even more. So all those things that happened in the past, they're all grouped together, nonstop today.
Lovie, I know you had said in the back here.
Okay.
I know you had said that one player wasn't going to change that game on Saturday, but any thoughts of switching back to MJ at quarterback for the final game?
We had thoughts on you said the final game? This is what we do each game. What gives us the best chance to win? And as a staff, that's the decision that goes into everything that we do. So the guy that's going to start this week is the guy that gets us the best chance to win at all positions, no more than that.
Coach touched on injuries a little bit. One area that hasn't really been injured is the offensive line. How much has that consistency there helped this improved run game?
That's what you have to think about is just that. I mean, our offensive line has been together pretty much intact throughout all training camp, every day. Once you have a group working together like that, you see the results a little bit. It's tough when you keep going in and out, putting guys in different positions. Secondary, Tony Adams, corner, nickel, back to safety. Who knows where he'll play this week? It's tough but to answer your question, it's an ideal world where you can put people in a position and they play that position all throughout training camp, throughout the games and all. Most people aren't in a position where they can do that. Most teams aren't. So it's happened that way for our offensive line, and we've seen the results.
He's doubled his sack total from his freshman to sophomore year. What does that say about your player development program?
Well, it says that, number one, Bobby's an excellent football player. He's been that way. We recruited him here to have this type of success. He'll talk about some of the ones he's left out there, sacks he's left, but you know what you're going to get. He's going to play hard every snap. As I say, he's a good football player. He can rush the pass, he can play the run. Talk about guys that show great leadership. I mean, Bobby Roundtree will eventually be a captain for our team. He's that type of guy, and his best days are ahead of him.
Lovie, it feels like sometimes when teams score, they kind of go on these runs and these touchdowns happen in waves. What's behind that, and how do you guys stop that?
Well, we're still working on how we stop it, but that's how the season has gone a little bit. You go back to the last game, up until the second quarter. Momentum can do a lot of things to a team, especially a young ball club when things start going south. You have to eventually make a play, though. You have to make something to counteract the momentum that a team has, and that's what we haven't been able to do. So we'll keep working on that.
Coach, what do you say to the fans who stayed for the entirety of the game on Saturday?
Thank you. We understand you. We know how much you love your university, and in tough times, you appreciate the support of people that kind of know. It takes an awful lot to be there at a game and stay throughout it. These are just people that kind of know what's happening a little bit, and when family members down a little bit, you want to show as much support as possible. We appreciate that. And eventually, those and the people that came there that left for whatever reason, I understand that too. There'll be better days where we'll have a product on the football field where everyone will want to stay for a lot of different reasons, really the same reason.
Lovie, after this week, after the final game, I imagine you'll be going into the thick of it with recruiting. What is the urgency to hire a defensive coordinator as you go into the offseason?
Well, we have some positions on our staff. The urgency is when I feel like we have the right person to hire, we'll hire them. Urgency-wise, it's not like we're going to play a game right away. Recruiting-wise, as you can see, most of the recruiting is kind of done. We have a few scholarship lefts to go, but the urgency is we'll hire someone when the time is right. We picked out the right person to do that.
Lovie, how's maybe Chase McLaughlin may set the standard for your special teamers? You're coming in as a walk-on, winning the job, and then obviously this year kind of emerging as one of the top kickers in the country.
As we look at all the seniors leaving, and as I said, they all have a different story. But as you mentioned with Chase walking on, you can only bring in so many scholarship players. We try to get as many walk-on players as possible to come into our program and have an opportunity to earn a scholarship. You say that, but guys would like to see proof of that, and that's definitely the case. Chase came in. It's been documented how he looked, how much he weighed, and what getting into our program, all-season program, can do, and just being locked in and dedicated to becoming a good football player. And you can have these results at the end. But he earned himself a scholarship. He's going to leave here as one of our all-time greats, a success story. And that has to help our young players that we have in our program also. Guys that are trying to earn a scholarship, and just guys that, potentially want to come here.
System in place, how do you evaluate where it's at in your third season?
Well, right now, it's not a good time for us to talk about where we are. We've talked about some of the things that are going on. I think you have to look at big picture. Big picture-wise, we have some players like the Bobby Roundtrees, the Jake Hansen, the Nate Hobbs, Tony Adams. We have Sidney Browns. We have some good young players in our system that will eventually be around when we're having success in our defensive system. System is proven. We'll keep working on it. Get the coaching staff right, get some more players here, and eventually we'll have success with it.
I got two things, Coach. What do you think about the job Pat Fitzgerald has done up at Northwestern over the years? I know you saw him when you're with the Bears. What do you think of how he's done?
I think he's done an outstanding job. They're playing for the championship right now, so you see where their program has come. I think you have to look at, where it started. Of course, Pat, I know since Pat took over there, we've just seen steady improvement. We have to eventually beat them. We understand that. You have to eventually beat your rival. Our rival worked their way up, eventually moved into their new facility this year, which is going to help an awful lot. We're going to do the same thing. We're struggling now, but we won't always struggle. We're moving into our new facility. Things are going to change here, but it's just good to see a program with high academics, eventually get it done. And that's how we're going to do ours too. Right now they're up on top. They've earned that, and we'll eventually be there too.
Go back to when you started here. Has this been more of a challenge maybe than you thought when you first came in?
I don't know about more of a challenge. It was a challenge. Normally when you're bringing someone in, there's a challenge to be accepted. We accepted that, and the challenge is still there, and we're still working toward it. We got here, we say eventually we're going to do this, and eventually that's what will happen. We're not there yet, but we'll get there.
So your resolve about staying here and going forward has not changed?
Not at all. Absolutely not. Disappointment right now, but times will change. Yes, sir.
Sticking with Northwestern, being with your defensive coordinator hat on there, what are you preparing for with their offensive scheme?
I think when you're looking at any offense, first off, it's about quarterback position. And Thorson is an excellent football player, great decisions, has helped them win a lot of games. He, as much as anyone, is the reason why they're playing in the championship game. So it starts there. The offensive line, young, I think they all played last year. It starts up front, as we talk about with our offense. Our offensive line has played excellent football. We've had success on the offensive side of the football. Similar with them. The offensive line has played well. They have good, solid skill throughout. Don't make a lot of mistakes. Hard-nosed group. But it starts with the quarterback coming off a major knee injury. So it'll be a big challenge for our guys.
Lovie, over here. Hey, Lovie, when you look at your wide receiver play this year, what have you thought about it? Is it a position where you feel like you need to upgrade the talent there a little bit, or how do you kind of see what you've done from your wide receivers this year?
And again, most of you have been around through training camp. You kind of know where we are and what has happened this year too. Our wide receiver play hasn't been as good as it will be in the future. I think that's fair to say. If your injuries and you go all the way back, Mike Dudek, that hurt a little bit. Starting off with it, we lost a couple of guys that would have helped a little bit more, but right now, just like our play at most of our position, our football team, we feel like hasn't played our best ball. The receivers are part of that. A few too many drops, but again, we're talking receiver-wise. We can say that about all positions right now. Haven't played as well as we will in the future.
Coach in the back. What did you think about Rayvon's performance on Saturday, and what's the status of Reggie looking ahead to next week?
Rayvon Bonner has patiently waited for an opportunity, ran hard. We got to protect the football, of course, but he ran hard. That's the type of player he is. He's a very good running back, especially running in between the tackles, toughness, all of that he brings to the table. So he'll get another opportunity this week. Reggie Corbin, of course, unfortunately went out, tweaked his ankle again last week. He's feeling better right now, so we're hopeful that he'll be ready to go this week.
Anything else for Coach?
Thank you.